Hello everyone, Sire here. I hope you're doing well. This is my first card using the October 2020 Scrapping for Less card kit. Um, and I decided to create two cards. There was two stamps that I absolutely loved, and I couldn't decide which one to do, so I decided to create two similar cards and using both of them. Um, After creating the card, I realized that the one bird is probably a bluebird, but I ended up coloring it a robin because that's what I thought it was at first. So it still turns out really nice, but I did color it as a robin instead of a bluebird. The second stamp features this really cute cardinal sitting in some foliage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my watercolors and um, stamp the image using Memento ink. Memento ink is supposed to be, I believe, water resistant, but I think you need to let the ink dry before you start using it because I did get some blending or some bleeding. Um, so once that was all done and I stamped and I got my watercolor pencils and I decided to just start coloring the different pieces. Um, I'm also not using watercolor paper for this, so I'm not going to use a lot of water, and that's why I'm also probably not getting really good watercolor effect. Like once you put the pigment down, it kind of stuck. It didn't move that much. So I'm going to assume that's because I didn't use watercolor paper. I wanted to, well, two reasons. I was being lazy and I didn't want to get it. Second reason is I wanted to use the white paper, the 110-pound cardstock that came in the kit. So I am, like I said, coloring this as a robin and using some reds for the throat and some browns for the upper part of the body, and then using a softer brown just underneath the wingspan and around the breast to create some shading. And I'm going to keep it white on the bottom. And I'm just going to go back and forth very lightly, add in pigment and coloring it down. Because I'm not letting it dry, once I go for the next layers, it is wet, so sometimes it does grab and immediately start activating, which is fine because it's such a small picture. It didn't create such bold colors that it couldn't spread that much, so it worked out. It wasn't too bad. I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to watercolor. I just like playing around with it. So this is what I can't really explain what I'm doing. I'm only just playing around and seeing what I can create. But I do like to play around with water and colors. And one day maybe I will actually get little paint palettes instead of using the pencils, just to see what they're like. Definitely a lot of fun mediums out there to play with. For the holly leaves, I believe they are, I am going to just color those with two shades of green, a light green over the whole leaf, which I used a very light hand just to create a base, and then I went with a darker color down the vein. Before I added water, I did add both colors to the leaves, just so that I don't have to do one layer, add color, do another layer. Just try to see if I can get it all at once. For the bottom, I am using, I believe it's a gray, not the black. It is a gray. And I'm just adding a little bit of ground to the image, and dabbing away any excess that I don't want. I don't want the image to expand too much. And then I'll come back with that second gray just to create a darker shadow. And I'm kind of dabbing it because, like I said, the paper is wet, and once you add the pigment, it will start activating. So I'm just dabbing it at that point. To finish off the scene, because I did the ground, I'm going to use a very light blue and with a very light hand. Like I'm barely touching the paper. And then I'll take a darker blue just around the bird to create the focal of where you kind of want to look. And then I'm going to add water and just spread those out. I just want a very very pale blue sky. Not too bold. I don't want it to take away from the really beautiful stamp image. And I'm just going to spread that out using a little bit of water. Not too much. Like I said, this is not water paper, so it cannot handle too much water. Um, and I'm just going to spread that out. And then I will get that dark blue again and just add my second coating just around the bird to create a little bit darker, kind of like an aura, or it's not really, but it's just around that area. Well, I guess before that, I just want to darken up those leaves. I didn't realize it was taking this long to finish coloring, to the voiceover. So anyways, there we go. There's the blue. And just filling in those colors. Just, I just want a little bit, kind of separation. Like I want to separate that bird a little bit. And that's why I'm adding the dark blue around the bird and not over everything else. And I'm going to spread that out so that it kind of melts with the light blue background. I'm not going to show you my coloring for the second card, just save time. But that is my cardinal, and I did the exact same effect. I am then going to use a white gel pen to add some snow. I've already done it to the cardinal, but you can't really see it except if it's up close. I was just playing around to see what it would look like, and since I had already started, it would look kind of silly just to have one snowflake. So I did add it throughout the card, but like I said, you won't see it. You can totally skip this step. Okay, next I want to just put a little something behind because I'm going to do some splattering with some watercolor. And I'm going to take the blue and I'm just going to scrape it on some paper and then add some water just to create a little puddle, and then I'm going to splatter that throughout the card. Mainly I'm focusing on the top. I kind of wish I blocked the bottom so that it was clear, but I didn't think about it until after I had already started splattering. So I'm mainly focusing on the top. And then I took a black watercolor pencil and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Add some water, get a little puddle, and then splatter it throughout the card, mainly focusing on the top there. Just add a little bit of something. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with this card, but I'm going to do the reverse, only because I am using black, so I didn't want to get the black with the blue. So since my brush is already wet with black, I might as well just continue with it and then wash it and use the blue. That's the only reason. Now, to add the sentiment, I am going to just choose the Happy Holidays that came from the same stamp set. And I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to try to center that right between the image and do that for both of them. The first one, I did not get a good coverage, which is pretty rare when using VersaFine ink. That rarely ever happens, but this is not a problem. Because it did leave somewhat of an impression, I just took my black gel pen, I think it's called a jelly roll or a jelly pen, and I'm just going to carefully go over the ink and fix up the font. And I'm just going to compare to the one that did stamp well and just fix that up. The nice thing about this black pen is if you did want to heat set this with clear embossing, that gel pen works pretty well. I've done it before and it will hold and heat and melt, sorry. Next, I'm going to distress. I did this with another card not that long ago and I really liked it, so I want to do it again. And I'm going to distress both of these cards with a pair of scissors and just roughly, like I'm going pretty rough on it, and I'm tearing and ripping and shredding the edges. I really want it to be uneven stress marks. And I'm just going to go and do that for both of them and just go crazy, just scraping and scratching. And you'll see the big pile of paper of the shreds on my desk when I put that away. I really like this. It's kind of fun. And you'll see what I'm going to do a little soon with the backgrounds. To start off, I took 2 pattern papers from this collection, and this is collection number 1 from the kit. And I'm going to cut this, I believe, 4 by 5 1/4. Um, I wanted to leave a little bit of white on the base of the card, um, and just show a little bit of the pattern. After doing this, I kind of wish I made it a little bit thicker, just because the image was the white image that I watercolored was a little bit bigger than I was thinking, and so it kind of hides it. I did want to add a little bit of color between the 2 layers, and so I got a piece of red, and I'm going to cut that and leave just a little bit. So it's just maybe a 1/4 of an inch less than the base or the pattern paper. And I realized that it was covering too much, so I'm going to trim that down, and I'm going to go back and forth until I get a nice ratio. I just want to see the red, but I also don't want to hide the background. Like I said, I had already cut the paper too small. I wish I had cut it a little bit bigger. So because of the mistake, let's try to work with it. And because I actually distressed the paper, I was able to cut that red down even smaller, almost the size of the white paper that has the stamped image. Because the distress is all uneven, I was still able to see the red, and it worked really well. I really like that because you can see the red when you move it around, but it's not taking up that much space. It's almost the same width or dimensions of that card. And I'm just playing around looking to see. And then I noticed that I just need to fix up that font a little bit more with my black jelly pen. For the next card, well, actually right now I'm just going to see. I think I liked it better with the robin, and so I'm switching it up. But I'm going to do the same thing, but instead I'm going to use a piece of the green. This piece also came from the card kit. I can't remember the name of the color, but it is the green one that came in the kit, and it looks beautiful. Like, this is a beautiful traditional green for Christmas, and I love it. So doing the exact same thing, cutting it down to a small size, just enough so that you can see it when you're moving the card. But I'm going to keep it with the robin, or sorry, with the cardinal. I liked it better. This collection also came with a beautiful piece of red ribbon. If you've seen my unboxing, you know how I feel about ribbon for my Black Friday haul. I'm not a big fan of ribbon. It's not because I don't like it. It's just, I just don't think about using it, and so I never do. However, if I'm inspired to do so, I will play with it. And this card just screamed traditional Christmas, and there's ribbons. I love red ribbon for Christmas, and so I decided to add it to the card. And there was plenty to do both cards, so I was very lucky that my idea worked well with this. But I am going to use very little, so I am wrapping it around, but I'm going to be very careful not to waste too much because I don't want to make a mistake because I have 2 cards to work on. So I'm sorry I'm off camera, I just realized that, but I put some double-sided tape on the back, and then I stuck the ribbon on it, and then I put more double-sided tape on top of the ribbon. This is just to make it so that that ribbon will not unbuckle or fray or just come apart. It creates that nice secureness to the card. I'm just going to do the whole thing because it is lifted with the ribbon a little bit. I don't feel confident using just liquid glue, so I'm going to use double-sided tape for the whole card. You just need to be careful to position it perfectly well because there's no room for error with this. I'll place my cardinal down on the piece of green. Just really beautiful. I love that green paper. It would have looked good with the red as well, definitely, but I wanted 2 different colors. I am going to take another piece of that double-sided tape and just put underneath the ribbon using a pick. This is so that the ribbon doesn't lift. I'm just going to pick that up and just secure that ribbon down, and it will not move. I only did the center because when I go to make my bow, I didn't know what side to do it on, and I wanted to make sure I can move it back and forth. So I only secured the center of that. I'm going to glue this down to my pattern paper. My glue once again clogged up, so I am going to use my finger to just smooth that out a bit. And I'm going to glue that right down, trying to center that as best as I can. I realize I start using my mat to position my card. I have a really hard time with centering my cards, but that's why I use liquid glue, just because I have more forgiveness. Here is my attempt of making a bow. I will move back and forth. Not the most elegant way of making a bow, but it works for me. And I'm just going to pull and tighten, and I'm going to just flip that around. And once again, sorry that I'm off camera, but I was in a mode. I was trying to make this bow and just make sure it didn't unravel on me. So like I said, I'll just keep pulling the different ends and then tightening it, pulling it and tightening it. And that's how I create my little bows on that strand. And I'm just going to ruffle those loops up so that they're nice and full. And then when it looks good and nice and tight, I will trim down those strands and give it a little bit of a fishtail cut. I will do the same thing with the second card. I just won't bother showing it so I can save some time. And there we go, 2 beautiful cards. And I'm just going to glue those down to a white base. Nice and simple. You definitely could have used different colors, but I just stuck with a nice white base for these cards. Okay. Once that is done, I am going to go into my embellishments, and because I did use red and green, I used the red that was part of this collection, and then I used some green enamel dots from another collection from Scrapping for Less in the past. I'm not sure which one it was. There was a lot that came in, but one of them had a nice green that matched the paper pretty well. And I'm just going to put those red dots, use 3 of them, the 3 different sizes. And this one got damaged, so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there. And just place that down. And then here's the nice green ones. And I'm just going to follow the same pattern as the other card. It's looking pretty. I'm really liking these cards. They're really cute. To finish off, I did grab my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen and I'm just going to spray it. Once again, you can't really see it until you move it in the light. So it's not necessary. It didn't add that much of an effect, but it is pretty if you move it in the light. But that's it. That's the 2 cards, the very first 2 cards I created using Scrapping for Less's October 2020 card kit. Very happy with the outcome. I love these stamps. I love the birds. Maybe next time I'll make a bluebird instead of a robin, but I'm very happy with both of them. So thank you for joining me. I hope you had fun watching. I hope it has created some inspiration to get into your kits and start creating some cards. And thank you so much for joining me. If you liked it, definitely feel free to subscribe. I'd love that. I realized I did pass 50 subscribers. That was really amazing. Wasn't even paying attention and I just noticed. So thank you so much for everyone that has joined. And until next time, take care of yourselves and have a wonderful day. Bye.